Being an American to me is about getting a lot of things you don't deserve and nothing you do.
What I think it currently means to be an American. We are so caught up with making sure our own needs are met that we no longer care about those around us and their suffering and their pain or what they might be going through. We don't.
Amazing viewer, I'm glad that you stopped by. Thank you so much for supporting my content. If this is your first time here, don't forget to click that subscribe button. It's another educational video, and this is what this channel is about, educational videos. And if you're coming back to watch my videos, I appreciate, and for all the comments, I don't take any of what you're doing for granted. Let's dive into today's video. I was scrolling down on TikTok and I came across this video. What is it like to be an American? So we'll be hearing from Americans and what it is like to be an American and what defines them and what is that they have in common, you know. Yeah, this is what we'll be looking at right here. I will be interrupting whenever it's necessary. Enjoy the rest.
So what I think it means to be American is to be proud to live here, to have freedom. I grew up being very proud to be an American because I saw other countries and the way that they lived, and I saw the freedom that we have here and the beauty. You know, America is a beautiful place, and I think that people have lost that. They're not proud to be American anymore. You know, you go to other countries, I've traveled all over the world. People are proud that they're from Africa. They're proud that they're from the Philippines. Matter of fact, I had friends in the Philippines. They didn't have all the things that we have here. And I asked them, would you give anything to come to America? And I was shocked that they said that they would love to come here, but they would not want to live here. You get a different perspective when you leave and then you come back. And I think the reason that people don't want to live here is because they see Americans not being proud of who we are anymore.
Being an American to me means never feeling sorry for a feral cat, knowing that it'll figure it out, just like you will. Being an American to me means looking at a disabled person and knowing somewhere down deep they deserve it. Oh, God. Being handed things, squandering opportunities, always attacking others, blaming, never being introspective and looking down deep in yourself as to why you are where you are or how you could have handled things better. Being an American to me means being entertaining at all times, even when killing someone. It means that everything in life should be a spectacle, kind of an O.J. Simpson trial. Everything, from your divorce to an argument at breakfast, everything should at all times be insane. Nothing should truly make sense outside of the idea that it is all entertaining and for sport. Being an American to me means being inconsiderate in a very considerate way, meaning offending people only once you've gotten to know them pretty damn well. Knowing the buttons to push and pushing them. Being an American to me means figuring out that everything's full of shit when you're about 9. And oscillating between drug, food, sex addiction, and the mismanagement of your money to handle it. Knowing at any time that your government has orchestrated many different attempts to kill and enslave you, and still enjoying Top Gun. It's a good film.
But what it means to be American that I sense coming from white folks that I'd like to talk about. Before I do that, I'd like to say one more thing that's hard about talking about racism, and that is that people of color are spilling their guts and doing education to white people. Let me explain to you how you've got this wrong. Let me explain to you how you've got that wrong. Let me explain. And then we get cross-examined, and it's like, well, maybe your problem is blah, 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 blah. And it's always, racism gets looked at as a person of color's problem, and it's not. We're like on the receiving end of the problem, but we're not the problem. I walk in a world where black people, where Latinos, where Asians, where Arabs, all these different people are experienced as problem people, and that, well, we're going to deal with the person of color problem, when in fact, racism is essentially a white problem. And that for you to understand what racism is about, you're going to be so uncomfortable. You're going to be so different from who you see yourself to be now that, there's just no way for you to get it from where you're sitting. And I'm not saying that you could never get it. I mean that you need to step outside of your skin and step outside of what seems really comfortable and familiar to you and launch out into some real, for you, unknown territory. And you haven't gone out there, like you haven't, gotten in proximity to black people, as you say, because you don't have to. And that's part of what it means to be American, to me, is to have all these things that you can do if you want to, that you don't have to do if you don't want to do. And there's a way in which American and white and human become synonyms. That why can't we just treat each other as human beings? To me, when I hear it from a white person, it means, why can't we all just pretend to be white people? I'll pretend you're a white person, and then you can pretend to be white. Why don't you eat what I eat? Why don't you drink what I drink? Why don't you think like I think? Why don't you feel like I feel? God damn it, I'm so sick and goddamn tired of hearing about that. I'm sick of that. That's what it means to be human being to me. That's what it means to be white. That's what it means to be American. Why don't you come the hell over here? That's what I hear every goddamn day. And you know that I can't come over there. You know that this skin and that this hair and that this way that I talk and that I think and I feel will never, ever get included because I'm unpalatable to this goddamn nation. I'm unpalatable. You cannot swallow me. You cannot taste me. You cannot feel me because you don't want to. You think that you can survive without me, but you can't, man. You think that, hey, it'll all be fine when we just treat each other like human beings. And what that says to me is, don't be yourself. Be like me. Keep me comfortable. Connect where I'm ready to connect. Come out to my place. Or maybe I'll come down and get some artifacts from your place. That is bullshit. When you say that your ethnicity is American, there is no American ethnicity. You had to throw away your ethnicity to become American. That's what it means. That's what it means. You give up who you are to become American. And you can pretend that it's okay because you're white. When we give up who we are to become American, we know that we're dying from it. You're dying from it too, but you don't know it necessarily. Get ethnic, you know?
What does it mean to be Asian American? Well, as Asian Americans, we are rendered invisible by both external and internal forces. But when we are rendered visible, and when we're seen, we're most often seen only in negative ways, either as hypersexualized, desexualized, or as a faceless mass with our individualities erased. So what it means to be Asian American is to live in this paradox of wanting to be seen and not wanting to be seen at the same time. But although we desperately want to be seen by others, we must remember that before other people can see us, we must first see ourselves for the full, complex human beings that we are, without shame, without judgment.
Jon Stewart said something a long time ago that really stuck with me about what it's like to be an American and to try to love America, to try and be patriotic, which is a squishy term. And this was pre-Trump. He was talking about the sort of diverging paths of conservatives and progressives, about how each of them tends to love America. What he said, and I'm paraphrasing here, is that conservatives tend to love America like a 4-year-old loves their parents. They are perfect, infallible, whatever they say is the truth. Anybody who contradicts them or talks shit is the enemy. It's black and white, pure and simple. And then he said that most progressives tend to love America the way that a grown-up comes to love their parents. They've had that phase where they idealized their parents and thought they were perfect. They've been through the disillusionment of realizing that not everything was as it seems, and that they are very fallible, that they make mistakes, sometimes big ones, sometimes they cause harm. And they've come out the other side of it and found a way to embrace the nuance of it, to love them for their good parts and to hold them accountable and to draw boundaries for the parts that aren't healthy. So I know that sounds condescending, and it's certainly not true across the board, but it certainly holds true. And he said that before Trump, before things became even more polarized, more adversarial, more black and white, and before a big chunk of the country elevated one leader in particular to almost deity status, considering him infallible, following him at all costs to the exclusion of any evidence to the contrary, while the rest of the country scrambles to try and hold people to some kind of accountability, transparency, to diminishing returns. Part of this divide between people who want to love America with their head in the sand and their fingers in their ears versus people who want to love America with some nuance and with some healthy dose of disappointment and even anger is the conversation about whether we owe it to ourselves and to the rest of the world to stare our history in the face and to embrace not just the beautiful, heroic, amazing parts, but the ugly, violent, horrible parts, of which there are many. This conversation is very much alive right now because there are parts of the country where people are trying desperately to limit what is taught in schools to our children, to remove the parts that are uncomfortable or that shine a light on how white people have treated all other people at so many points in our history. In other news, I saw Martin Scorsese's new film Killers of the Flower Moon last night. You ever wonder what a 3.5-hour stomach cramp feels like? This one was tough. It was hard to watch. And it's not a perfect film, and it's certainly not immune to criticism. At the end of the day, it's a movie made by white people about just one chapter in the horrible history of how white people have treated the indigenous population in this country. And while they seem to have involved members of the indigenous population as consultants and tried to get things accurate, and their heart seems to be in the right place, it is, at the end of the day, a movie made by white people, mostly for white people. That's the thing, is that white people need to see stuff like this, especially now when there's this ongoing conversation about how much we should look back and how honest we should be with ourselves about the really horrible things that we've done at times. And while there's an ongoing conversation about the horrible things that we do or support going on around the world, the thing that I think this movie does best is that it shows how quickly and casually white men engaged in violence toward people who didn't look like them out of pure greed and opportunism. The American enterprising spirit is rightly applauded. We have built ourselves into a great and powerful nation in some ways that required innovation, hard work ethic, courage, and bravery. And then there's the other side of the coin, which is opportunism, entitlement, and violence and greed. The language of movies has taught us to look for a good guy, a hero, usually a white man, who, even if a movie is really intense and difficult to watch, we can count on to do the right thing, to try and fix things, or at least refuse to participate. And Martin Scorsese does a really smart thing here, letting us wonder for a long time into this very long movie if Leonardo DiCaprio will be that guy. And over, that rug is pulled out from under us as we realize that not only did he not do the right thing, but that he never really stopped to consider any other option. And that's one of the things about the way that white people have domineered and victimized the rest of the world throughout history, is that they don't really stop to think about it. It's manifest destiny. We are God's chosen, and this is our right, and we might need to get our hands a little dirty to get what's ours, but we will get it. So it's a hard watch. There are no safe places in this movie. It's painful, and I think it's important to watch. It's important to watch with nuance, not to idealize any characters in this movie, not to idealize the movie itself, because again, it's not perfect. But I think it's important. And right now we have this weird phenomenon where political lines aren't really containing the kinds of polarization that are happening, especially with the situation on the other side of the world, where there are even liberals now who are idealizing one side over the other, refusing to see the nuance. And battle lines are looking very different, which makes nuance more important than ever, makes it more important than ever for us to look at our history and to look at our present and to try and push for the side of ourselves that is more honorable and brave. Has anyone else seen Killers of the Flower Moon? I'm not a Martin Scorsese fanboy. I'm sort of immune to gangster films, but this one sits heavy with me. He's a master, and this was masterful, I think. Curious to know what other people think. Let me know.
This question goes to an American watching this. If you're an American, are you proud to be an American? And what are you proud of? Like, what do you think? Because for me, what I really appreciate and envy on American is how protective their law is, even when you leave the countries. You know, they follow up with you, and whenever there's any kind of injustice or any kind of thing, if anything that happens, they are there for you. So you are an American in and out of the country. While some of us, when you leave your country, it's like you're abandoned in a place somewhere. You know, that's what I love about you guys. From the points you made on this video, it shows us that Americans could be the most protected people on the planet. You know, their systems are really protective. They know how to take care of their citizens wherever they go. Now, when you guys are getting things you don't deserve, how do you react? Do you take them and use your supremacy, or what do you guys do? Do you go for justice, or do you just get carried away with the pride of being an American and take what doesn't belong to you, you know, and just move with your privileges and take good advantage of them? How do you feel about the whole thing? And how do you react? Like personally, what do you do? Is it right to be treated unfairly, like not equal to everyone? Is it right? And what do you do about it? That was it about this video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to turn on the bell so that you get notified whenever we have a new video. Don't forget to leave me your thoughts. I'm so curious to hear from you. Goodbye for now.